Neil Fallon's our guest, frontman for Clutch. Neil, what's the best website for listeners to go check out all things Clutch?
The main one you want to go to is prorock.com. That's pro-rock.com. We have another website, Weathermaker Music, but that's our own record labels, which will just probably bump you to Pro Rock. So information, message board, all the links are centralized on that.
That's pro-rock.com?
Mm-hmm.
All right. We were talking again during the break. That's some of the best radios, our discussions behind the scenes. Getting into the occult, you talk about it being voodoo. Voodoo is just a big mind game, a scam, making the poor Haitians believe that, you know, the politicians can make them die if they don't do what they say, just with, you know, some gunpowder thrown in a fire. And you were talking about a book that you've been reading about the occult in politics. This is an occult empire. Give us your take on that.
Well, if there is magic in the world, I think it's language. You can hypnotize people with language. And Clutch, we're not a platinum band, we're not a gold record band, but we've had some pretty big shows, and there have been moments on stage where I really felt, whether it's real or imagined, that I had 10,000 people in the palm of my hand, and it's the most powerful drug you can imagine. And I can understand how people get addicted to that, whether it be politicians or musicians. And I think that whether it's, you know, I think maybe that explains why some musicians get addicted to drugs, because they want to maintain that high all the time. But politicians never get off stage. They're always on it. And I think the occult, it draws its power from the power of the human mind. And I think a lot of these politicians try to imbue or appear as if they are larger than life, either in their own mind or for our own benefit or not benefit, if you want to look at it that way, with these things that are hard to understand. But you go down to Washington, D.C., and it's a pretty imposing place. They're temples to mortal men, basically. But again, I'm rambling, and I forgot your initial.
No, we were talking about the occult. That's a great answer. I'm actually really impressed. It's thought-provoking, the different points you're bringing up. What does concern you most about this New World Order structure? You brought up during the break privatization.
What scares me is if people, at the end of the day, the government is ours. Everyone that's elected is a public servant, and they need to be reminded that over and over and over again. They're like dogs. If you let them up on the couch, they're going to keep coming up on the couch. You got to remind them, we pay their wages. But if we start being so scared of being out of control, and we said, well, maybe it's best that companies take care of everything, all you've really done is you played a shell game. It's a 3-card Monte. What really scares me is the privatization of prisons, of police forces, because then they don't have to answer to us, because they're their own entity, and that's capitalism gone awry.
What do you think? It's piracy. What do you think of the Hardin, Montana situation?
I've been trying to find out what's happened since. It's that story, at least from my own, kind of half-baked research, has kind of gone under the radar, and it's hard to find out what the repercussions were. Let
me give you the skinny on that. The state was so corrupt that when people begged them to investigate, they did a kind of a half-baked investigation and backed out. They admitted he was a 14-time felon and had 20-something aliases, and the local constabulary just wanted him to come in and start arresting the town to put him in the private prison to make them money. They also wanted it to be a Guantanamo Bay, and he's still visiting the town now, scamming new people. And it's really an example of the emperor has no clothes. Even though they know the emperor's butt naked, they don't want to admit they were wrong because the boss hogs in that town are so criminal. They wanted somebody to come in and literally help them bleed the public.
So you're basically, it's just a glorified thug with a lot of money. But I don't. It's frightening to me that could get as far as it did.
And by the way, the head of the Two Rivers Authority said he would do it again, and that it was a great thing. That they haven't even gotten in trouble, and they're still trying it today, and no one will stop them and no one will admit they were wrong. And it just shows how wide open to corruption we are. It's like we have no immune system against it.
Well, it's almost like what was going on with the last administration. Some things were so over the top, in your face, shocking, that you almost believed it. Like you could say something so contrary to logic that, well, it's so baffling. Well, it must be true or must be okay. That was a Dick Cheney special. But if we allow that to continue, if we're so afraid of our government that we decide that the answer is corporations, then I think we're ultimately just playing their game.
Well, what's happened is corporations have come in, created big government so they can get corporate welfare, and now they're just saying, hey, get rid of government altogether. We will be your government. That's all a king is some warlord who takes over your area and puts a crown on his head so everybody like monkeys bows down to them.
It's amazingly circular. That's almost you've gone back to feudalism, but it's digitized.
Digitized feudalism. The government's like a dog getting up on the couch that's getting uppity. I'm going to steal all of this, Neil. This is great stuff.
Go for it, man. I think going back to what I was saying about capitalism and socialism, because right now when I'm in Europe, I can see the news from afar and see maybe how the rest of the world might, or at least Western Europe, perceive the U.S. situation. And I've talked to people who are in much more socialized governments than our own. To sell out to corporations would be. I think that is the idea. I think that at the end of the day, you turn government into a corporation, you turn corporation into a government, and they meet in the middle, and then we're all screwed.
Absolutely. I want to go to Tim and Chris and Freddie and others, specifically calls for the lead singer, the front man, the founder of Clutch, 1-800-259-9231. Neil Fallon is our guest in the last 20 minutes we've got here. But before I go to these calls, tell us about your latest album. Anything else you'd like to impart to all your fans or new fans that are out there, things that you're up on a soapbox reaching a couple million people. What does Neil Fallon think is most important?
I think what is most important is to appreciate what you have, and we all only have so much time on this earth, and you got to do more good than harm. And I play in a rock band. It's a blessing. I love doing it. I love playing rock and roll. Everyone else in the band does. Life can be tough. So sometimes you just want to escape for a little bit and listen to some tunes, and whether it be on your CD or at a live show. And for us, at the end of the day, it's about having a good time. We're not trying to lecture anybody. We don't have any agenda, even though sometimes these things creep in. It's about having a good time and try to keep it simple in a complicated world.
What do you think of people like Ron Paul and auditing the private Federal Reserve?
I'm about as dumb as a box of rocks when it comes to like macroeconomics, but I think the more transparent anything is, it can't be bad. And especially when it comes to money. And auditing the Federal Reserve, well, I'm sure you'd have an army of accountants to have to do that, but why not? What would be the harm? Just finding out the truth?
It is a little suspicious that they're fighting so hard to keep that from happening, but the audit of the Fed has cleared its next hurdle. Looks like it's probably going to happen, which again shows the people we're fighting are not invincible.
No, we pay we pay their wages, and it's that and votes is what they live for. And if enough people speak out for whatever they believe in or are against, they will eventually listen. They work for us at the end of it. It's that simple.
Neil Fallon's our guest. Let's go to some of your phone calls. Let's go to Chris calling in from Germany first. You're on the air with Neil Fallon. Go ahead.